Hey, welcome to the First Issue Club podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we are covering Empyre out on Marvel and Sleeping Beauties on IDW. Yeah, that's the Stephen King comic book that came out this week. If you don't know, we are a comic book reading club where each week we read first issues, number ones. There's a lot of them, and we cover them, and we try to lead you through the muddy and murky landscape that is the comic book universe. In the club today, we've got me, Budget King, and
Mike D.
And Greg.
And Caitlin.
yes, she's back. Back again. Caitlin's back from the dead.
I have risen.
That's right, folks. We've mastered necromancy.
It's been a minute since Caitlin's been on, right?
It has.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm brand new. I
What?
was like, I've been out of the game. Like, I haven't been able to read. It's going to be wild.
You feel like reborn?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's a good
We'll
feeling.
see if I have a totally new perspective.
So what are these
I
comic
hate
books?
everything I've liked before.
Yeah, we're recording in the same room, social distance, masks. You can picture it.
You're good at this. Come on.
Yeah, we're following all the rules. I don't know how it looks like in your city, but in our city, we're doing it right. And it's comic books, baby. So let's get into the news. We got a lot of news, a lot of shit happening. If you don't know what Empyre is, it is the new event happening, and I called it a number one, but it's actually a 0. If that means anything to you guys out there.
Yeah, so we're breaking a rule. We only cover number ones. This is a 0. So if you have umbrage with that, get at us on the social medias and let us know.
Talk to our boss.
Yeah, talk to our fucking lawyer.
Yeah, email Matt Hodab.
Yeah, all your profanities go to Matt Hodap. So, yep, this is the new summer event for Marvel, Empyre. DC has Death Metal. Marvel has Empyre. And we're going to spend a lot of money on both of them because they're stupid. But we're going to spend less money on Empyre because Marvel just came out and said that they're cutting 21 books from the event.
I think direct response to fan reaction. Do you believe so?
Just like everybody groaning all over the
Well,
internet.
I mean, that definitely was the chatter on our Instagram when we posted about it.
Immediately, several of the people I follow were like, God, Marvel fucking sucks for this one. I think it was 52 books that were originally going to be tied into this thing.
Right. So a third of the books have been cut.
Are they not written yet?
So they've been. So my theory is yes, fan outcry is one reason.
Yeah.
2, pre-sales for those books were shit.
Right.
Because
It's gotta
of the
be
pandemic.
one of the worst selling events ever.
And so my thinking is they've already had been drawn and written. So they're probably going to appear in the collected edition or the omnibus when this all gets collected at the end as kind of like an extra.
Okay.
But, I mean, Marvel's taking a fucking hit. They're cutting 21 books
That's wild.
at, what, $4 a pop each?
I wonder if they're going to be digital release only.
No,
Yeah.
They're just like gone.
they're gone.
Wow.
Just cut them. Do you think that this is to pave way for Exo Swords at all?
Well, that's what I was thinking, that I'm already allotting so much of my Marvel money for all these X-Men books that are already happening. And then they're doing a cool event on top of that I'm going to want to follow.
Yep.
So making way for another like Kree scroll thing is very low on my priority list.
The other thing is that like they basically go hard in the paint for these events, marketing up to them just like crazy.
Yeah.
And they just didn't really have that runway to do this. So
Well, the runway was on fire, also known as a pandemic and civil unrest in America.
Think about all the conventions where they normally would have pumped this stuff and released news about it.
yeah.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
happen.
exclusive variants and all that like bullshit.
We went to C2E2 right before Comic-Cons were canceled, and they were barely mentioning this. I went to a panel with Al Ewing and CB Cebulski,
Yeah.
and they just barely teased Empyre at that point. And that was in like what?
March. That was a month away from when it was supposed to drop.
Yeah.
The tone that I got from this, and I was going to mention this when we review the book, was that like it's getting in the way of Exosorts or whatever that series is called. That it's like oh yeah, we have to do this big event that's like all of the characters before we get into the mutant event.
True. And this,
And people are more excited about the mutant event.
totally. Because it's the hottest book.
And that's not to say Al Ewing, awesome. I'm excited to see whatever he's got coming because he's a great writer and he does really fun things with superheroes that I know.
Right.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, if they can cut 21 books that easily, do these events need to be that long?
No, they absolutely don't.
Do they need to have that many one-offs or that many tie-ins?
One of the things that's cool about some of the tie-ins on these big Marvel events is that you get really weird new writers
Mm-hmm.
like dipping their toe into the Marvel universe. Like I think you had some podcast hosts that you really like write one of the
Yeah, the McElroy brothers wrote
Oh, yeah.
Journey
War of
into
the-
Mystery.
a War of the Realms tie-in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was hilarious. It was him and it was all three of the boys and the dad writing a comic book.
Yep.
Which was a dream of theirs.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, you do get those fun Chip Zdarsky got to write for some characters that he doesn't get to write for in
Mhm.
War of the Realms, and it's just zany.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's too much. If you cut 21 titles and you still have 30 some odd books,
Right.
it's too much.
Have you guys ever attempted to buy every book in an event, including the like spin-offs?
I've done it.
I've done it.
I have not.
I can't. I don't have that kind of dedication in me.
Well, Caitlin, actually, you have. You just don't know it.
I guess we're now the proud owners of some of those events, but the checklist thing kind of appeals to me just organizationally and being able, but I don't even know how I would even go about making sure that I read it. It's kind of like when a crossover gets too big within the shows that I watch, even I'm like, I don't know what order to watch these in, and I'm going to get it out of order, and it's going to be a mess.
One thing that they're doing that I appreciate, at least with this, is that like you'll have Empyre : Fantastic Four #1.
Yep.
Instead of saying like
Venom / like
yeah, like we're interrupting your Venom run with like random characters from X Factor.
Right.
And it's just this like random bit of this tie-in, and like Venom's not even in it. I remember going to buy my comics when I was a kid and like saving up my allowance money, trying to pick out which book I wanted, and then it would be some insane tie-in and that had nothing to do with the previous issue, and I would be so lost and upset.
Oh, no.
I can just see little Mike D in the
Yeah.
shop being like, well, fuck this book.
Justice for children spending their allowance on comic books.
What other news did we got? I got one. If you don't have one, the FOC order just came out, and there was a bunch of image books on there, and one of them that they you can now order is the re-up of Chew, is coming back. So I am a huge Chew fan and very.
But it's spelled CHU, is it not?
I think,
is.
Yeah, I think it's because. Well, I actually don't know anything about the book. I assume it's Chew's daughter. Is the like focal point
There's
of it?
there's a female lead.
Okay.
I know that at least.
Tony Chu, that's how he spells his last name, CHU. So it's like, I bet it's her is the last name, but I don't know if that's true or not. Either way, I'm just pumped that the book's coming back. Been a long time.
Shouldn't have left you.
Been a while.
Without a dope step to step 2. Can you guys do the baby crying song from the sample?
No. Aaliyah.
That was perfect.
R.I.P.
This bit. Next.
Hey, real quick, we just have some like podcast tidying up to do. We had released an interview that it looked like 80 people downloaded in like an hour, which was kind of crazy. And we did some research on that person, and there's a whole extensive story, but they have some connections to things in the past that do not represent what this podcast is about and the whole reason why we do this podcast. So we made the call to pull it. We talk about it more in our Patreon, so if that's something you want to hear about, you could hear it there. If you don't want to pay us money to hear our opinions, just message us on any of our socials. We're not trying to hide this. We also just aren't trying to like put bad energy in the world and that type of thing. So it was our journalistic call to do it, and we feel good about what we did.
I think it's time to get the podcast started.
Oh, yeah.
We're on the
Moon Studios.
All right. First up, we have Sleeping Beauties out on IDW. This is one of those comics that I think came to us hot off the presses of getting optioned.
Did it really?
I think is the case.
Oh my god.
Well, it was already a full fleshed out story.
Yes.
Because
It was a book, right?
yeah.
2017.
Okay. So you're hearing it. This is hot. This is Sleeping Beauties. This is made by none other than Stephen King. And forgive me, there is also the name Owen King on here, and I don't know what relation Owen King is to
I don't know. Is this like an Abram situation where we got Hank and
He
his
already
papa?
has a son that has a different name than him.
Yeah.
Joe Hill. So did Owen not go the route of Joe Hill? And
Yeah, I think he wanted to benefit from Dad's name. And
Yeah.
Joe Hill was like, I can do it on my own.
I wonder.
Don't even publish on Hill House, please.
Yeah.
Do you think Joe and Owen hate each other?
Are they the same person?
Oh,
Oh,
M.
boy.
Night Shyamalan twist.
They might be.
Is Owen King Joe Hill?
No, that would be
Dear Google.
ridiculous. I would hate that
Whoever's listening to this right now fucking hates me.
because he's getting 2 Social Security
No,
checks.
no, there's a Joe King.
There is no way he's
So
getting
Joe
two.
King is Joe Hill.
Okay, who is Owen King?
Who's joking?
Joking.
We're all
Who's
joking.
joking?
Joakim.
So Owen King, I bet is
His
like
wife?
no, it's like his alter ego, Stephen King's.
So he did like a Garth Brooks,
Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines thing, but he just put both his identities
Right.
in one book.
Uh-huh. He also wanted to benefit from his name.
Okay.
The angel on my shoulder and the devil on my shoulder wrote a book together.
Both named
Stephen King and his son Owen King.
How old is Owen? And if you say 15,
Okay, I don't know.
He's the
how
younger
old
of
he
the
is.
son of authors Stephen and Tabitha.
okay, give me an age. Come on.
43.
Owen, you do not need to be benefiting from your father's name on this.
What if it was just a labor of love that they did together?
I have an idea, Papa.
Daddy, I have a
You literally just you waxed poetic about the McElroy brothers doing a comic book with their dad, and now you're shitting on Owen
Whoa,
King.
whoa, whoa. Now
Yeah,
let's
eat your words.
I will
bitch.
address that on the Patreon, but no, different thing.
Not at all. No sale.
Caitlin, give me a rundown of this book, please.
Okay. This one's just straight from IDW because they did a really concise job, which I very much appreciate. So, Sleeping Beauties, a strange sleeping sickness known as Aurora has fallen over the world, and strangest of all, it only affects women. In the small town of Dooling, a mysterious woman has walked out of the woods. She calls herself Eve and leaves a trail of carnage behind her. More mysterious, she's the only woman not falling asleep.
My one hang up on this is that I guess on the conversation itself, is that I feel dumb and stupid predicting things when it's a novel out there that like several people have read already.
Yeah.
You know what
True.
I mean?
I think that
Here's my take on where it's going.
Right.
It's like so wrong.
my thing for me is that Sleeping Beauties, not an intriguing title. Stephen King writing a comic book, like not that interesting because that feels like just like, oh, we're just putting something on another medium,
We
right?
just added pictures.
Well, I don't think he's writing it. I think it's adapted from his book. Someone else adapted this into a comic book.
Okay.
So Stephen King isn't just like going to IDW, just like, I got an idea for a comic.
Great Stephen King
Yeah.
impression.
Thank you. That's like one of the things I do on my stand-up.
Very,
bit.
very New Englandy.
Yeah.
God.
You guys like clam chowder and horror and cocaine?
Okay.
Oh yeah, he was big into coke, right?
Yeah.
No, keep going.
So, yeah. Well, see, the cocaine kind of makes your brain stutter a little bit. But my son Joseph Hill, you may know him. He changed his name because he didn't like me too much, but he benefited from my legacy either way. My son Owen, on the other hand, really isn't that. We can just get this bit's dead in the water.
That's all staying in. That's good. Fuck. Sleeping Beauties is a crime show. It felt like to me the start of like True Detectives. Like,
Yes.
Like it was like eerie, dark, whodunit. Anyway, hybrid crime and like pandemic monster thing. I don't know. Did you guys have like what'd you think of it as a comic book?
I thought it shouldn't have been one. If I'm being completely honest.
Here's the
A to
thing.
B.
I think a lot of adapted things rush the story so much that you're like, this is for people who already read the novel.
It really
Yeah.
is.
And they introduce so many characters so fast that I'm like, this is maybe one of those things too. I felt like the Game of Thrones comics were also the same way, where it's like you need to have read the novel or watched the show.
Well, the
to,
Game
like,
of Thrones comic books
truly
have
enjoy
more
these.
issues than that, but
Yeah, that's
I
true.
don't even understand why anybody would want to do that. There is too much in that show. They had to have a show to break down what was happening in that show after the show, just so people could understand who was what and where they were.
yeah.
And like, I don't even understand why you would want to make that into a comic book.
It's like if we started an exclusive Sleeping Beauties podcast just to break down what's happening in the comic book.
I will say,
Which might be a good idea.
I will say, I agree. I think the pacing was a little bit hard. It was it was a little bit difficult to figure out who fit in what story. And then because they kind of jump around a couple times too. I did really like the way it was drawn, especially this character that's
Eve?
you think is maybe the catalyst to everything. I liked the way she was drawn. She looks a little crazy, but not in a bad way.
She's super, super intriguing.
Yeah.
The fact that they named her Eve, very cheeky.
Yeah, Adam and Eve.
Of Adam fame.
of Adam and
Oh
Eve.
wait, that's where we,
Of
okay.
garden fame.
There we go. It actually wasn't Eve, the Rough Riders rapper, now married to a billionaire.
Is she married to a billionaire?
Yeah.
A billionaire. Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah, and she was on a great sitcom. She's had one of the most illustrious hip hop careers.
What sitcom was she on?
I don't know that.
Reba. Is she on Reba?
I don't actually remember. I was just reading her Wikipedia article the other day.
If she were only on Reba.
Oh, man. You know what America needs now? Reba. Back on TNT immediately.
One of the things that happens in first issues
Switching.
is that
Pivot.
Changing gears.
is that sometimes your reading experience is tainted by what you're reading on your stack.
Yes.
And I had just read an image book that we're going to cover on a Patreon a little bit called That Texas Blood, which was a crime book, kind of like No Country for Old Men, and it is fabulous. It's wonderful and like creepy and weird.
Was this kind of in the same lane, but
And-
not as good?
Yes, exactly. This is the exact same lane, but like,
It's in the slow lane.
but not as good. So then I'm just like, oh, this is just like that book light,
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
and so that really tainted it for me. So
Yeah.
I won't say it's bad. Like you mentioned, you compared it to a great HBO show that I love, and I agree it has that vibe. And if you're a Stephen King fan, 100% get this. The fact that the pandemic only attacks women seems like there's going to be some good social commentary in this.
right,
Yeah.
If there is not, poo-poo on this.
Yeah.
but it seems like there's got to be like a analogy metaphor for something.
Yeah. I hope this is like a really good start for Owen in his comic book career.
he's published. He's
Yeah.
very
I
published.
hope he flourishes on IDW.
Yeah, just because sometimes just because we don't know about somebody doesn't mean they aren't famous.
If I was Owen, I would introduce myself as Stephen King's son.
Oh my God, if I am Stephen King's son, I don't get a job. I just like go to parties, do a bunch of cocaine. Like that's how you live your life. That's why it's rich dad, poor dad, baby.
So now you're banking on whatever offspring you have to be
Rich.
So it's
Yes,
the
in that
reverse.
scenario, I'm
so
the
you're
poor
like
dad.
the lazy hammock in between the two rich
Rich kid,
points
poor
of your
kid.
life. Rich son, poor son.
I'm poor dad with illustrious dreams.
Cool.
Imagine having a New York Times bestseller and getting like no credit for it.
Because your dad helped you.
Right. Yeah. Stephen King's name's also on this.
I just
That would
imagine
be infuriating.
All the reviews I heard about this would be like Stephen King and another king on it.
two kings.
How can there be two kings?
There can only be one king, and Stephen's the stronger one. Where?
Has Tabitha King written anything?
I think it's
Checks, baby.
Well, in the Wikipedia article, it states her like you should know Tabitha King.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
She has a Wikipedia page. That's more than I.
Yeah, that's more than us.
That's true. Do we First Issue Club doesn't have a Wikipedia page yet?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
You can
we
look
still
it up.
haven't gotten our LinkedIn approved.
Here we have.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
We're LinkedIn approved. For all you business professional comic book fans out there.
Connect?
So that's Sleeping Beauties. We didn't have a ton of hot takes on it, but it was a spec book for sure. And Stephen King, you're writing still, which is good. I want to be doing that when I'm 70 plus.
God, how old is he? Yeah.
He's old enough. He's trying to groom Owen to take over.
Joe doesn't need him.
Joe doesn't fucking need him.
No.
Fuck you, Dad. I have my own empire.
So here's what I got for you on Wikipedia. There is a first issues collectors club,
Whoa.
or FIC, as they're often known. Same acronym.
Fucker.
Damn.
And they're an international society for collectors of the first postage stamps issued by legitimate postal administrations.
So, how much does it cost to make a
alright.
Wikipedia?
Nothing.
Oh,
Are you kidding?
hell yes.
Why do you think people can go in and edit them anytime they want?
Because it's bedlam, baby.
You know-
the internet is hell.
You know the word bedlam, but you don't know that Wikipedias are free.
And
I
also,
don't wanna
you
fucking
didn't use
learn.
Bedlam correctly.
Oh, really?
He fooled me.
I thought bedlam was like a place where like anarchy and hedonism ran
I mean,
wild.
yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, so did I use it correctly?
I'm going to
Is
look
that
it
a
up just to
redaction?
make sure.
Do we have a redaction on
Because
the
I
calling
thought it
out
was
of
more
bedlam?
about dueling forces.
My brain is plastic. I'll go with whoever says it loud. All right, next up we have The Event, which we covered extensively in our news. So you may ask yourself, why are we even covering the comic book? Because it's that big. Avengers, Empyre, #0. Yep, it's not a #1, but it's close. By Al Ewing and Pepe Larraz.
Such a fancy name.
Such a fancy way to pronounce that.
It's fancy drawing, so.
It is. He did a phenomenal job illustrating this book. He's been doing some X-Men stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
This is a big event, so it's hard to sum up. But Caitlin, do you have anything that gets at trying to sum it up?
Yes. Tries. This is a prelude, right? This is the 0, so this is like supposed to be a primer. I will talk about how it was not a primer for me in a minute, but Empyre is okay. So the Korean Skrulls have united under a new leader. Their war fleet is on a collision course for our world. Meanwhile, on the moon, the Avengers prepare countermeasures with the full power of Earth's mightiest heroes. Also approaching from outer space is the Fantastic Four. They're there.
Spoiler
Too.
alert.
They're
yeah.
there too.
I feel like everything you said ended with a question mark, which is accurate,
Appropriate.
for talking about this book.
If there ever were an inaccessible Marvel event, this is the
This
one.
is it. This
sure.
is the one.
Yeah.
I even went to the aforementioned Wikipedia because
Right.
it promised to have like lead ups and plot so that you could kind of get oriented a little bit. And halfway through, I was like, nope. This is decades of stuff that I have
Just
not.
like scree, crawl,
Yeah,
crowy,
because I started talking about it and Greg's like, oh yeah, that was from the 70s with Celestial Madonna. And I'm like, no, I can't. There's no way I could make up the amount of ground that I would need to in order to fully understand what's happened.
Yep, it's convoluted even from the 70s. Mantis is in there, and we haven't seen Mantis in current comic books
just the movies.
in a long time. And it's strange that she's even in the movies. Like, what a weird
That
pull.
is weird.
I did like her though.
She's great. She's great in the movies, and they utilize her well. But like, to not have her in the comic books for so long is like, well, we know why now, because she's a part of space.
So the thing for me on this comic book of why it maybe didn't land was in the last 3 months, my entire life is like changed. And most people's has. Like nothing is normal again. Everything is like different. And then it's like Marvel's trying to be like, oh yeah, we still do special events and they're kind of the same. And I'm just like, that's not what I want. I can't go back to normal life, and like it just reads like another, big event. And so it took me 2 times to read it and be like, I'm gonna give Al Ewing a chance. He is a good writer. He is like, he comes across as like this guy who writes fantastic fantasy, sci-fi, horror, all that kind of stuff. But it's still just a big Marvel event at the end of the day.
Well, it also reads like we haven't been on a 3-month pause. That's what made this book hiccup so much, is because it expected you to just be ending Iron Man 2020. It just made it relied on you just finishing the new Thor run by Donny Cates, where he has his new costume and his eye is back.
Well, can you guys even remember what happened in Incoming, which was a predecessor to this exact story?
It was in fucking January.
It kept on referencing Incoming, and I was like, oh, that was that giant book that I couldn't get through.
And that we tried to cover.
Yes.
It suffered because there was such that long pause from like where this wanted to be released.
Right.
So all the steam and all the wind is out of its sails.
Yeah.
And not to mention, it chose the most obscure moment from Marvel history to base an event that originally had 52 books in it. Mm-hmm. What the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah.
Is this a line that happens like in Avengers, or is this truly this like vanilla of a book? It starts with, and there came a day unlike any other, when Earth's mightiest heroes found themselves united against a common threat. On that day, Avengers were born to fight the foes no single superhero could withstand. Like, that's just every event, right?
They might start every book like that.
Okay, good. Okay. I hope that is the case, because that doesn't...
Yeah.
Right? If that's the setup to this book, then I'm like, oh dear God.
This Avengers book that Greg brought over from the 70s has the same intro.
And I stand corrected. I need to atone, actually. This is
okay, we'll write you in for next episode.
This is where I atone. The grammar of that sentence was even bothering me, but it seems like it's a long grammar error. So I'm sorry, Stan Lee.
I'm most interested in this from the fact that like it may tie in with Immortal Hulk or She-Hulk. I've been having a lot of fun with the Avengers run lately. Mm-hmm. And like the team they threw together for the Avengers is just so unique and wild, and they haven't gotten together since for like an event since the
War of the Realms
kind of started in War of the Realms around the same time. So they're due for another big event.
I think one of the coolest things about this book is the Tony Stark inner dialogue that he's going through. He's essentially having a spiritual awakening.
That was great writing
throughout the whole thing, and is like reconciling with like, is he now like dreaming about the future, and then does he now believe in a messiah? And like for Tony Stark to like, they show him crying in his suit at one point in time because he's just like having such a like trip. Like it seems like he's on one giant like acid trip, and he's like awakened to it. Kind of like Caitlin is now reborn on this podcast. So that was good. That was interesting. Question for you, and I'm sorry that I missed this. Do they always make She-Hulk speak like a caveman?
Ugh, no. That is a common thing that happens on and off, depending on who writes it.
Yeah, I'll say that.
It's so fucking disconcerting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marvel transitioned into this where they had like a medium-sized She-Hulk for a while that practiced law as She-Hulk, right? And then she was back to being Jen Walters for a while, because she was just having emotional issues and couldn't control becoming She-Hulk, right? And then some of her existential crises boiled to a point where she became this like super buffed out, like gray She-Hulk.
CrossFit Hulk.
Yeah. And has ever since been this larger, more...
Her brain is more dedicated to brawn than it is words.
It's more animalistic, and like
animalistic's a good word.
The
for
baser
it.
Instincts are just like of early Hulk features,
which is
you just smash and destroy things. There's no critical thinking.
Sex, eat, destroy.
Which is maybe a gear.
Yes, which is my
motto. Which is maybe a gear that Jennifer Walters has had, but we're just now tapping into it. They like she's got new powers as of the beginning of this Avengers run.
Right.
So that's interesting. I love that character, and that's one of the reasons I like this Avengers run.
What do you guys think about the swordsman who I only know from Marvel vs. Capcom fame?
In the original Celestial Madonna, he's a misogynistic crybaby who is upset that he's like a junior varsity Avenger, and so he ends up getting himself killed for altruistic reasons, and that's how they explain that he got reborn because he died so heroically. But in this book, he in the original 70s run, he is a straight up asshole.
Yeah,
and zero redeeming quality.
Cool.
So what they do with the character from here on out is whatever to me. I've never been really attached to the Huntsman or anything like that. So,
do you think the Marvel's moon is maybe getting too crowded?
Well, that's a good question.
There are Doombots up there attacking a base that was supposed to solve global warming.
Is that still a thing? Well, they're not in the blue zone or whatever.
Yeah, they're not in the blue zone. The X-Men Cyclops lives on the moon.
Uatu.
No, he's
Uatu's dead.
Right, but he was his remnants.
Well, this forest that's now growing on the moon is where Uatu had been living, I believe.
Right, and where Nick Fury is now.
Right.
Who is the new Watcher. Dipping into a little original sin for everybody.
The moon is getting crowded. Can I ask you guys a really dumb science question?
Sure.
The moon is the big thing that goes around the Earth.
Check one. Good. Okay. Now I can move to the second question. When people say the dark side of the moon, like if Pink Floyd were to say that.
Which they have, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the dark side mean whatever the dark side is now? Or does the moon spin in such a way that there is always the same dark side?
Correct. The moon does not spin. It is set in place. So the dark side of the moon is always the dark side of the moon.
If you look at a full moon, it always looks the same.
We always
Same
see,
craters.
We
are
always see the same craters. We never
Yes.
see the other. We never see the flag.
right. That's why they say man in the moon, and you can kind of make out a little bit of a face.
Okay, so there is truly. Well, I hope my wife listens to this because she was dead wrong on this question when I asked her over the weekend.
Uh-oh.
So,
Sorry, Heather.
You gonna make her do an atonement?
yeah, I'm gonna bring my wife on. She's gonna atone. There is a dark side of the moon that's always dark.
From it. Yeah.
From it.
What state could you wrap around the moon and it would be that size? Like Idaho? Is the moon the size of Idaho?
Oh, what school failed you?
All of them.
The moon big. It's pretty big.
Big.
Texas,
No, dumb.
Way bigger.
It's way bigger.
Russia.
I don't know what specific continent, but multiple.
That's a country.
Don't fucking do this right now.
How big is
Yeah, I
the
was
moon
like, we
compared to
can
Earth?
easily figure this out.
Here's what I found from universetoday.com. This means that the moon is approximately 27% the size of the Earth.
Oh, that's big. That's real big.
Oh, that's big.
That's about
Oh,
as
that
many
is,
as
that is big, though.
That's as many books Empyre cut. About 27%.
The moon's big. If you guys didn't know, if you guys came here to find out about science, leave knowing the moon's big.
The moon's big.
I did sort of like that commentary on just sort of the futility of trying to create some grand thing when nature is always going to outweigh anything that man can come up with technology. Like, that was kind of a neat commentary that Ewing threw in there.
Yeah, nature always wins.
One of the things that you mentioned too, Caitlin, which it doesn't even, if you got this far, and this is boring to you at this point, but that the Avengers are essentially going to be fighting Fantastic Four because they're like flying with the Skrulls or the Kree.
I thought that they were more of like in an ambassador or a diplomatic role.
That's true, because the Fantastic Four see the Skree and the Skrull coming together as like a peace thing.
Yes.
And they want to harbor that peace.
So there's more to this story.
I think they're going to end up butting heads for sure because they don't. That's
Because Reed Richards is the perfect villain.
He is. Has Alpha Flight already been released?
No.
So Empire is going to release Alpha Flight again.
I hope so.
It
I
seems
miss
like
Alpha
it.
Flight.
They talk about bringing them in the loop and keeping them abreast of the situation.
Yeah. So that's one good thing. More space Marvel things.
You got to pick up The Union, which is a tie-in. Did it get cut?
Oh
What?
no!
That's
kidding.
That's one of the books that got cut.
Wow.
Yeah.
That one looked so good.
It did look
I didn't
really
even know
cool.
anything about it.
The Union is this like Britain's new superhero team.
I was going to have
Why
like
in the
tons of first
world?
appearances. R.B. Silva, like really cool character design.
I don't know. They got cut. The Wakanda book
Yikes.
gone.
Are you serious?
Yep.
So which ones stayed? Do you have a list?
I can't believe out of all of them. they cut
Here,
The
let me
Union.
see. Beep beep beep.
There was something controversial about The Union. Like some people didn't like maybe the naming of the characters or that they had people from like certain countries together.
Okay, so the Empyre Storm Ranger gone, which that is about
Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel's suit that was from outer space. Union gone. Empyre Thor gone. Let's see here. I think they got rid of the Empyre Spider-Man thing. The issue 10 of Strike Force gone. What else did they get rid of? Oh, the Empyre Ghost Rider gone. The Empyre. I think the ones that were just like the one-offs, they just like, nope, get them out. Nope, done,
Yeah.
done.
Most of the things that start with Empire semicolon.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I was definitely not going to buy.
Yeah. Oh, the Empyre, the Invasion of Wakanda, which I was really excited about it because Zeb Wells
Was going to write
was
that
going to
one.
write that. So, I think it really did boil down to terrible pre-order sales and way too many goddamn books
Yeah.
in an event.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
In
Sorry.
an economy that's just starting to like get its feet back underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a bummer because I was super excited about Union, and then I saw those promo pics. I'm like, fuck, what could have been?
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Well, we can hope for the omnibus, I guess.
Yes. Give us the omnibus.
The omnibus.
Omnibus. You took the Empyre books out of my brain. You had them there on the checklist, now they're gone all the same. How will I know about stuff? I bet Union was good, but you didn't get any guff.
Well, I guess I can't complain. I was pissed that there were so many issues and
Yeah.
I got what I wanted and
Why
I
didn't you
can't be sour
handpick
about
the
it
ones
now.
I wanted?
Yeah. I'm upset. Guys, I think we have to talk about the real star of Empyre, which is the Joy Wave
Oh boy.
ad, I guess.
For the
Yeah,
ba-
it says
At
advertisement
the
right
end
there
of this
for you.
book.
for the band Joywave.
Yeah.
Whatever record label this is the same like Breaking Benjamin label that like thinks this is going to be their big marketing push. It's a terrible idea.
As a kid, I would see this and go, I fucking hate Joywave.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
I hate Breaking Benjamin to this day because of all the ads they've bought in these dumb comics and how terrible they are.
I couldn't even tell you. Breaking Benjamin bought ads in a comic book?
It was all that was in the back of Marvel
like
for
2
like
months
yeah,
at
it was
least.
terrible.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It was a long time. I appreciate that this faux comic book ad is at least on the back cover
Yeah.
and not something where I turn the page and
Fucking
then like
Snickers and DC.
Yes.
I hate those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're reading a Justice League book and then you turn it and like Wonder Woman is talking to Superman and you're like, what the fuck?
How great would
2
it
frames in. Oh, it's Snickers.
How would awesome would it be if they actually did work this Joywave ad into the Empyre event?
Beep, beep, beep. Over.
That was the podcast that you just listened to that we just made. It was about number ones and one number 0. We had fun. We talked about some stuff. We learned about the moon, which is always great. If you like to rate things, we'd love it if you'd rate us with a 5-star review on any of the podcast apps you listen to. If you like more content from us, we have a Patreon. Go check that out. We also have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. Working on that Wikipedia right now. But other than that, thanks again for joining us so much. And we will see you next week.
And thanks Primary Color Music for doing all our music.
Yeah, and thanks for the moon for being here because we're recording on it. I'm surprised you didn't know.
That's why it's crowded on the moon is because First Issue Club.
Because we're here too.
Our big egos.
Joke landed.
On the moon.